Millions of people spend 40 years working only to reach 65 with nothing, a tired body, a small pension, and a quiet fear every time they check their bank account. They told you this was freedom. Go to school, get a job, work hard, save a little. But if the reward for a lifetime of loyalty is financial anxiety, that is not freedom, that is a trap. You were not born to trade your life for bills. You were not born to serve a system that keeps you obedient, tired, and waiting, and yet millions follow the same script. Wake up, work, pay bills, repeat. They call it being responsible, but responsibility without results is slavery in disguise. The truth is simple. Hard work alone has never made anyone free. If effort created wealth, every laborer would be rich. But the system was never designed for your freedom. It was designed for your usefulness today. That ends in this message. You will learn why people work until 65 and still die poor. You will learn the laws of wealth that schools never teach. You will see why your job is only a tool, not a destiny. And you will discover how the rich use thought, purpose, and spiritual law to build freedom, while others work themselves into the grave. Before we begin, speak this aloud. I refuse to work my entire life and retire broke. I was born to build wealth, not to wait for permission. Now let us begin with part 1, the big lie work. Retire. The broke, you were given a script before you were old enough to question it. A script repeated so often that entire generations accepted it as truth. Go to school. Get good grades. Find a stable job. Work hard. Save a little. And if you are patient, everything will turn out fine. But look around you. Has it turned out fine for the millions who followed this plan before you? Why do so many men and women reach 65 with a body that is tired, a bank account that is shrinking, and a heart full of fear about the future? If the plan worked, the streets would be filled with wealthy retirees, but they are not. They are filled with people who gave their entire life to the 9-5 trap and came out with nothing. This is the big lie. Hard work plus loyalty equals freedom. In reality, the hard work without ownership leads to exhaustion. Loyalty without strategy leads to poverty. The system does not reward effort. It rewards leverage. It rewards creativity. It rewards ownership of thought. And it punishes those who believe that time alone creates wealth. You must understand something that most people never learn until it is too late. The world does not pay you for how long you work. It pays you for the value you create. And value is produced by the mind, not the clock. Think of the man who spends 40 years clocking in and out of the same job. He gives the best decades of his life to a company he does not own, building dreams that are not his, while quietly praying that the pension he receives will be enough. He believes he is safe. But safety without growth is stagnation. And stagnation is the slow death of potential. Now compare him to the man who understands the wealth mindset. This man realizes early that working harder is not the path to financial freedom. He studies wealth principles. He learns the psychology of money. He sees that the people who rise are not the ones who follow the script, they are the ones who rewrite it. He uses his job as leverage, not identity. He invests time into building skills, systems, and income streams that will one day free him. This fundamental difference between working in the system and working above the system determines whether a man retires with power or retires with fear. Ask yourself now, with honesty, has your life been built around ownership or obedience? Are you building something that grows while you sleep? Or are you only trading hours for survival? Because here is the truth. If your income stops every time you stop working, you are not free. You are trapped in a cycle designed by someone else. The lie of work, retire, and live happily survives because people never question who benefits from it. Who gains when you work your entire life for a paycheck? Who gains when you believe you should settle for one source of income? Who gains when you trade time, your most valuable asset, for the smallest financial return? It certainly is not you. The wealthy understood this long before they became wealthy. Carnegie, Ford, Rockefeller, they did not accept the script. They used labor only as a temporary stepping stone and a way to gather experience before they built systems that multiplied money without their presence. They replaced the mindset of survival with the mindset of creation, and the moment they shifted identity, destiny shifted with it. You must do the same. This chapter is your invitation to break the script that millions follow blindly, to see the truth behind the lie, to understand that working until 65 is not a plan, it is a delay of collapse. And collapse always comes for the man who never learns to build for himself. Say this quietly or loudly if you can. My life will not end the way their script ends. I choose ownership over obedience. I choose freedom over routine. I choose to build wealth, not wait for permission. Slavery did not disappear. It evolved. It learned to hide in plain sight, wrapped in routine, debt, and the illusion of stability. Today, no one forces you to wear chains on your wrists. Instead, they hand you a contract, a paycheck, a credit card, a student loan, and a set of beliefs that quietly bind your entire life. The modern slave sings no sorrow songs. He simply wakes up each morning, follows the same rhythm, and calls it normal. Wake up, commute, work, pay bills, repeat. This is not a life. This is a cycle engineered for obedience. Why do so many people feel stuck? Why do millions live paycheck to paycheck? Drowning not in chains, but in invoices, because modern slavery operates through subconscious programming, not force, through cultural expectation, not violence, through financial dependence, not physical captivity. Debt is the new whip. Routine is the new prison. Comfort is the new cage. And most people willingly step inside. Think about it. From the moment you became an adult, the system placed you in a carefully designed sequence. A student loan to begin your working life in the negative, a job that pays just enough to survive but not enough to escape, a mortgage that keeps you obedient for 30 years, credit card debt that eats whatever remains. And when you grow tired, they say, just hold on, you can rest at 65. By the time most people reach that age, their energy is gone, their options are gone, and their dreams have been replaced by fear. This is financial slavery. And the tragedy is that most people defend it. They say, at least I have a stable job. But stability without progress is not safety, it is stagnation. And stagnation is the slowest form of death. The truth is this: you don't need metal chains when you can trap a man with monthly payments. You don't need a master when you can convince him to police himself through fear. You don't need a prison guard when his own routine keeps him exactly where you want him. Look closely at the average day of the modern worker. He wakes up tired because he went to sleep worried. His first thought is not of purpose, vision, or freedom. It is of survival. What bills are due? How long can I stretch my paycheck? What happens if I lose this job? These are not the thoughts of a free man. These are the thoughts of someone who has forgotten he was born with choice. Compare this to the wealthy, not the ones born rich, but those who built it. Their lives are built around intentional routines, not repetitive cycles. They wake with purpose. They think beyond today's bills. They study wealth, not distraction. They design systems, not excuses. They create leverage, not dependence. Their habits build freedom. The habits of the average man build captivity. The difference is not intelligence. It is rhythm. The poor follow a rhythm created by society, a rhythm of reaction. The wealthy follow a rhythm created by design, a rhythm of intention. Ask yourself, is your day a conscious creation or a repeated pattern that someone else programmed into you? Do you begin your morning with direction, or do you check your phone and surrender your mind to the world? Do you act with purpose, or do you react to deadlines, demands, and distractions? Because the invisible chains are forged one small habit at a time. Every time you rush without thinking, you reinforce it. Every time you follow a routine without questioning, you reinforce it. Every time you delay your dream to play it safe, you reinforce it. Freedom is not an event. It is an awakening. And awakening begins with this realization. If your daily rhythm does not build your future, it is quietly destroying it. Say these words softly or loudly, your choice. But with sincerity, I am not a slave to routine. I am not a prisoner of debt. I choose intention over autopilot. My days will no longer be spent surviving. I will spend them building. You have been told your entire life that hard work is the answer. Work harder. Work longer. Work until your back bends and your spirit breaks. But if hard work alone created wealth, the world's richest people would be construction workers, factory laborers, and night shift employees. They are not, because effort is not the engine of wealth. Leverage is. This is the first truth you must accept if you want financial freedom. You cannot work your way out of the 9-5 trap. You must think your way out of it. Hard work has its place, but without ownership, purpose, and intelligent strategy, hard work becomes nothing more than survival. Look at the man who spends 40 years showing up early, staying late, and doing everything he is told. He believes that loyalty will somehow transform into freedom. He believes that his employer will reward his sacrifice. He believes that playing it safe will protect him. But at 65, what does he have? A pension too small to live on. A lifetime of memories built inside someone else's dream. A body that is tired, a spirit conditioned to obey, and a mind that realizes too late that effort without ownership is slavery disguised as responsibility. Listen carefully. A man who works without a plan is not progressing. He is only aging. The wealthy know something that most people never discover. Money does not reward effort. Money rewards creation. It rewards ideas, systems, vision, and the courage to build something that grows. Even when you are not working, one man digs the hole. The other man sells the shovel. The world calls the first man dedicated. It calls the second man wealthy. Effort alone is not enough. You must build leverage, something that multiplies your value beyond your physical labor. Leverage comes in many forms: skills that increase your value, systems that work without you, digital assets that earn while you sleep, businesses that grow from thought, not muscle, investments that compound instead of collapse, mindset that sees opportunity instead of limitation. Most people never build leverage because they were trained to trade hours for dollars. This is the financial conditioning of the employee mindset. It is safe, predictable, comfortable, and completely destructive to wealth. Your time is the most expensive currency you own. Once spent, you never get it back. So why trade the only thing that is finite for money that is infinite? The rich trade systems for money, the poor trade time for money, the middle class trade security for their dreams. Understand this: as long as your income stops when you stop working, you are not free. You are simply a higher paid laborer. Look at Andrew Carnegie. He did not become wealthy because he worked harder than everyone else. He became wealthy because he learned how to organize men, ideas, and processes into a structure that multiplied without him. He worked once, his systems worked forever. Or Henry Ford. He didn't swing hammers. He built factories that swung hammers for him. Or Thomas Edison. He didn't rely on one product. He built an ecosystem of inventions, patents, and processes that generated income at scale. Their wealth did not come from sweat. It came from definite purpose, organized planning, leverage, and belief. Now ask yourself, are you building anything that will exist when you stop working? Are you creating value that grows while you sleep? Are you building a system or only performing tasks? Be honest, because your honesty determines your destiny. Say these words aloud with intention. Hard work is not enough. I build leverage. I build ownership. I build wealth. You were told to wait. Work while you're young. Save a little. Be patient. And one day, somewhere in your 60s, you will finally enjoy life. But when that day arrives, most people are too tired to live, too broke to rest, and too afraid to stop working. This is not a reward. This is the retirement trap, the final illusion that keeps millions obedient for decades. Retirement is not freedom. It is delayed, collapse dressed as hope. For 40 years, you are taught to trade your time, your energy, and your youth for a paycheck. And when your body begins to fail, they offer you a pension that barely covers the rent, a pension that disappears the moment the economy shakes, a pension that was never designed to help you live, only to help you survive long enough to stay quiet. Look at the average retiree today. Their income shrinks, their bills rise, their health declines, and their fear grows. They do not travel the world. They do not live the dream. They do not enjoy abundance. They simply try not to run out of money before they run out of breath. This is the reward of obedience. The system never promised you wealth. It promised you stability, and stability without growth is the slowest kind of death. Understand this truth. Retirement was invented to manage workers, not to free them. It was designed for factories in the early 1900, not the modern world. Back then, most people died before 65. Pensions were cheap because few lived long enough to collect them. Today, as people live longer, but the financial plan is still the same. Outdated formula. Work for decades. Save scraps. Hope the system holds together. But it doesn't. Inflation eats savings. Healthcare devours pensions. The economy shifts faster than salaries rise, and the man who thought he played it safe finds himself living in fear, counting dollars, rationing medication, and praying that nothing goes wrong. This is not bad luck. This is the design. The wealthy never depend on retirement. They build income that does not expire. They build systems that grow with time, not against it. They treat retirement not as a destination, but as a side effect of financial freedom. Ask yourself, why do people who follow the rules end up poor? Why do people who never disobey still fear the future? Why do millions reach the end of their working years with nothing? Because the rules were never written for your prosperity. They were written for your compliance. The truth is harsh, but it is liberating. If your entire life is built around a reward that only comes when you're too tired to enjoy it, you were deceived. The man who waits for 65 to begin living was never alive to begin with. You must reject this trap. You must stop believing that sacrifice today guarantees abundance tomorrow. Sacrifice without strategy does not create wealth, it creates regret. Life does not begin at retirement. Life begins the moment you stop waiting. Say these words aloud. With conviction, I do not wait for freedom. I build it now. I reject the retirement trap. My wealth begins today. Because freedom is not something you receive. At 65, freedom is something you create long before then. From the very first day you stepped into a classroom, you were not being prepared for freedom. You were being prepared for obedience. Sit down. Be quiet. Memorize this. Repeat it back. Raise your hand to speak. Wait for permission. Follow instructions. Don't question the rules. And then, after 12 to 20 years of this conditioning, you are pushed into the world and told to be successful. But how can a man succeed when he was trained not to think, but to comply, not to question, but to accept, not to create, but to repeat? This is the employee mindset. And it begins long before your first job interview. Schools do not teach wealth. Schools do not teach ownership. Schools do not teach financial freedom. Money psychology, or the laws of success. They teach conformity. They teach caution. They teach dependence. Think carefully. How much time did you spend learning about compound interest, investing, ownership, building income streams, or setting a definite chief aim? How many lessons taught you how to create a business? How many taught you how to think independently instead of repeating information? None. And this is not a mistake. It is the design. The modern school system was created during the industrial age to produce efficient workers for factories, not wealthy individuals with vision. Factory owners needed people who showed up on time, followed orders, and never questioned authority. Schools delivered exactly that. But the world has changed. Factories are gone. Technology has rewritten the rules. Opportunities exist everywhere. Yet the school system still trains children as if the year were 1,910. Meanwhile, the wealthy play by a different rule book entirely. They study creativity, leadership, leverage, negotiation, value creation, and wealth building. They teach their children ownership, not obedience. The difference in mindset begins early. Thomas Edison was thrown out of school. Teachers said he was unteachable and slow and incapable, but his mother refused to let the system define her son. She educated him with belief, imagination, and curiosity. and the boy the school rejected went on to illuminate the entire world. The irony, the same school system that expelled Edison now teaches students about him, but still punishes the very qualities that made him great. Ask yourself, why were you taught to fear mistakes more than mediocrity? Why were you trained to wait for instructions rather than give them? Why was your value measured in grades and compliance instead of imagination and initiative? Why were the core principles of wealth desire and faith? Autosuggestion, definite purpose, organized planning completely left out of the curriculum. The answer is simple. Obedient workers do not need wealth. They only need enough to survive and keep showing up. If you want to rise, you must unlearn what the system taught you. You must question everything you were programmed to believe. Who benefits from your obedience? Who profits when you follow the standard path? Who gains when you never build ownership? Who wins when you stay silent, compliant, and afraid? It is certainly not you. Freedom begins with a new education, one you give yourself. The wealthy read differently. They think differently. They question everything. They study psychology, money, philosophy, leadership, and spiritual law. They do not memorize information. They seek transformation. You must do the same. Say these words aloud. I think for myself. I question the path I was given. I was not born to follow instructions. I was born to give them, because until you reclaim your mind, the world will continue to use it for its own purposes. Let us be honest, brutally honest. A job is not freedom. A job is not wealth. A job is not a life plan. A job is a temporary solution for the man who has not yet taken command of his destiny. There is dignity in work, yes, but there is no freedom in dependency. You were taught from childhood that a job equals security, but security is an illusion when your entire life collapses the moment you lose a single paycheck. If one decision from one manager can erase your income, your stability, your confidence, you do not have security. You have vulnerability. Understand this truth. A job may solve your immediate needs, but it cannot fulfill your ultimate calling. And yet millions build their entire identity around their job. They wear the title like armor manager, supervisor, associate. But the moment the company restructures, their identity dissolves. Why? Because they confused their role with their purpose. A job is a role. Purpose is your direction. Ownership is your destiny. Without purpose, even a high-paying job becomes a slow, polished coffin, a comfortable, predictable, beautifully decorated prison. Look at the modern worker. He wakes, commutes, works, eats, repeats, not because he is building something, but because he fears losing everything. This is the tragedy of the 9-5 trap. People stay not out of passion, but out of fear. Fear of instability, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of starting, fear of their own potential. But hear me clearly. You cannot build financial freedom with fear. You build it with ownership. Ownership of thought, ownership of systems, ownership of income, ownership of identity. Consider the story of Edwin C. Barnes, the man who dreamed of becoming business partners with Thomas Edison. He began as a clerk. He started at the bottom, but his job was not his identity. It was his entry point, his stepping stone, his strategic foothold in the world he intended to conquer. He didn't work for wages. He worked for a vision. The job was not the destination. It was the bridge. This is what most people never understand. Your job should fund your freedom, not replace it. Your job is the seed money for your dream, not the coffin of your potential. A man who relies on one income stream is not safe. He is one decision away from disaster. A man who builds multiple streams, leverages his skills, creates value beyond his job, and uses his evenings and weekends to build systems that man is becoming free. You do not need to quit your job. You need to quit worshiping it. Use it wisely. Use it intentionally. Use it to gather knowledge, money, discipline, and momentum. But never confuse the tool with the vision. Never confuse the paycheck with your purpose. Never confuse the employer's dream with your destiny. Ask yourself, does your job build your future or only your employer's? Does your job create ownership or dependency? Does your job expand your potential or quietly bury it under routine? Be honest, brutally honest, because honesty is the first step toward liberation. Say these words aloud: my job is not my identity. My job is my tool. I use my job to build freedom. The moment you adopt this mindset, something powerful happens. Fear loses its grip. Purpose takes its place. And your life stops being a cycle and starts becoming a strategy. Let the world keep chasing money. Let them scramble for overtime, fight for promotions, and cling to their paychecks as if survival depends on it. Because they do not understand the truth, the wealthy have known for centuries, money is not first material, money is first spiritual. You cannot rise in income until you rise in mind. You cannot command wealth until you command your inner world. The rich do not obey the laws of effort, they obey the laws of thought, the laws of belief, the laws of alignment. Look at any great fortune. Strip away the companies, the factories, the investments, and you will always find the same foundation: a mind aligned with purpose, faith, and organized thought. Andrew Carnegie surrounded himself with minds greater than his own, not out of weakness, but because he understood the mastermind principle: riches flow to unity, cooperation, and mental harmony. Ford visualized his automobiles long before steel ever touched the assembly line. Edison repeated the idea of electric light so clearly, so vividly, so relentlessly that the world eventually believed what he had seen in his mind. These men did not merely work, they obeyed spiritual law. You must understand how this works. Your subconscious mind is the engine of your destiny. It does not respond to logic. It responds to repetition, emotion, and faith. Whatever you speak with conviction, it accepts as instruction. Whatever you visualize with emotion, it begins to build. Whatever you affirm daily, it turns into identity. The poor man wakes and says, I'm tired. I'm stuck. I can't get ahead. He does not realize he is issuing commands, and his mind obeys them faithfully. The wealthy man wakes and says, I am building wealth. I am worthy of abundance. My ideas have value, and the mind obeys him just as faithfully. This is not superstition. This is psychology. This is neuroscience. This is the foundation of every transformation. And Napoleon Hill understood it long before science proved it. Money follows alignment, not effort. You must align your thoughts with your belief with your words, how your words, with your action, and your action with a clear, definite plan. This is law. This is order. This is power. Most men fail not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack internal alignment. They desire wealth, but speak poverty. They dream of freedom, but act in fear. They want abundance, but believe deep down they are unworthy of it. You cannot receive what you secretly reject. You must build yourself from the inside first. This is the blueprint the wealthy follow. One, the law of definite chief aim. No drifting, no confusion. A clear purpose burned into the mind. Two, the law of faith through auto-suggestion, speaking your aim aloud until it becomes identity. Three, the law of organized planning. A written plan reviewed and adjusted daily. Four, the mastermind law, surrounding yourself with minds that amplify your vision. Five, the law of cosmic habit force repetition until success becomes rhythm. These are not opinions. These are the invisible laws behind every visible fortune. Break them, and life breaks you. Obey them, and the world yields. Ask yourself now, do your words match your desire? Do your habits match your goals? Do your thoughts match the level of freedom you claim to want? Because money does not rise above the mind that commands it. Say these words aloud clearly, firmly. Intentionally, I align my thoughts with wealth. I align my actions with purpose. I obey the laws that create abundance. If you want to understand a man's destiny, you do not look at his dreams. You look at his habits. Dreams inspire you. Habits shape you. And identity, your true identity, is nothing more than the collection of habits you repeat without thinking. This is why poverty is not just a condition. It is a rhythm, a pattern, a subconscious cycle so familiar that most people mistake it for personality. The modern slave does not wear chains. He wears routines. He wakes late. He checks his phone before he checks his purpose. He reacts before he creates. He consumes before he produces. He spends before he invests. He drifts through the day, repeating yesterday's actions, wondering why tomorrow never improves. There is no whip on his back. The rhythm itself is the whip. This is financial slavery, built one habit at a time. Understand this truth. You cannot drift into wealth. You can only drift into poverty. Wealth requires rhythm. Freedom requires discipline. Success requires conscious design. Look at the men who rose from nothing. Andrew Carnegie began his days before the sun. He wrote his aims. He organized his plans. He reviewed his progress with the same precision he used to build steel empires. Charles Schwab did not stumble into leadership. He mastered a rhythm of purposeful action. Every morning was structured, every hour measured, every night reviewed. Thomas Edison tested thousands of ideas, not because he was lucky, but because he built a habit of relentless, rhythmic experimentation. The wealthy follow a rhythm of creation. The average follow a rhythm of reaction. Ask yourself honestly, what is your rhythm producing? Because your habits are not neutral. They are building something, either your freedom or your chains. Let us examine a typical day. Do you wake with intention or with exhaustion? Do you speak your goals aloud or check your notifications? Do you plan your day or let the world plan it for you? Do you read wealth-building knowledge or scroll distractions that steal your mind? Do you track your progress or hope things magically improve? These tiny choices are not tiny. They are the blueprint of your future. Your subconscious mind obeys the rhythms you feed it chaos. and you will live in chaos. Feed it discipline, and it will build order. Feed it purpose, and it will create destiny. This is why Napoleon Hill taught the law of cosmic habit force, the most misunderstood law of success. It states simply, whatever you repeat becomes identity. Identity becomes destiny. Destiny becomes result. So if you want new results, you must build a new rhythm. Here is the rhythm of wealth, simple, powerful, and life-changing morning command rise before the world speaks. Read your definite chief aim. Say, your wealth, affirmations. With emotion, visualize your success vividly. Midday alignment pause. Review your plan. Correct drift immediately. Speak aloud, my pace is strong. My aim is fixed. Evening review. Measure what you completed. Journal your lessons. Rewrite tomorrow's plan. Speak your belief into your subconscious before sleep. This rhythm alone, practiced daily, will begin to rewire your identity. And identity creates income far faster than effort. Do not underestimate the power of small, consistent actions. Poverty is built through tiny daily neglects. Wealth is built through tiny daily decisions. Say these words aloud, my habits build my freedom. Each day I command my mind. Each day I build the identity of a wealthy man. Your habits are your future, and you must choose them with the seriousness of a man choosing his fate. There is a law more brutal than failure, more costly than ignorance, and more unforgiving than poverty. A law that governs every industry, every opportunity, and every fortune ever created. He who waits serves the man who does not. The world has never rewarded hesitation. It has never crowned the cautious. It has never handed wealth to the man who spends his life preparing instead of acting. Look around you. Look at every company, every invention, every empire, every name written in the pages of history. They were not built by the man who hesitated. They were built by the one who moved. Opportunity does not knock politely. It appears briefly, silently, sometimes disguised as inconvenience, and disappears the moment you pause. The man who waits for the right moment will spend his entire life watching bolder, less qualified men claim the opportunities meant for him. This is the silent tragedy of the world. Most men are defeated not by failure, but by delay. They say, I'm not ready. I need more time. I need more clarity. I'm researching. I'll start next month. They do not see that hesitation is not neutral. Hesitation is movement, but movement in the wrong direction. Every day you wait. Someone else moves forward. Every hour you hesitate, someone else executes. Every year you delay, someone else builds the life you dream about. Success does not require brilliance. It requires movement. The wealthy are not the smartest. They are simply the fastest to act. Think of Abraham Lincoln. He did not wait for perfect conditions. He acted in the darkest moments, when uncertainty was highest and support was weakest. When the nation fractured, he moved. When others doubted, he decided. When advisors hesitated, he advanced. He did not search for clarity, he created it. This is what leaders do. This is what free men do. This is what wealthy men do. They act, and the world adjusts to their decisions. Movement precedes manifestation. This is a law of life, a law of wealth, a law of spiritual creation. While you wait, someone with less talent starts the business. While you wait, someone with less knowledge invests. While you wait, someone with less courage takes the risk. While you wait, someone with less potential builds more wealth. And then one day, when your energy has faded and your years have passed, you will realize the painful truth. You are working for the man who didn't wait. Not because he was better, not because he was chosen, but because he moved while you paused. Understand this clearly. Delay is the most expensive habit on earth. Procrastination is poverty in slow motion. Life does not give you time. Life takes time. And the man who hesitates loses both time and opportunity together. Ask yourself boldly, how many dreams have I delayed? How many ideas have I abandoned? How many opportunities have I watched pass by because I waited for certainty? You already know the answer. Now speak this aloud, not as a slogan, but as a command to your subconscious mind. I act while others wait. My speed creates my freedom. I refuse to let hesitation own my future. Because the world belongs to the mover, the doer, the decisive, the man who steps into the storm while others look for shelter. Everything you have learned up to this point leads to one final truth, a truth so powerful it divides men into two destinies. You can die as a laborer or rise as a leader. The difference is not luck. It is not education. It is not family, background, or circumstance. The difference is identity. The world does not obey the man who performs. It obeys the man who commands, and no man can command until he first refuses to serve the forces that enslave ordinary men fear. Routine, wage dependency, and mental chains. The man who wakes each day only to fulfill the vision of another, who never writes his own aim, who waits for orders, who buries his potential under tasks and deadlines that man is not free. He may appear responsible, but responsibility without purpose is captivity. And yet, this same man can be transformed. Identity is not fixed. It is not permanent. It is programmable. The moment a man decides who he truly is and speaks it, writes it, repeats it, lives it, the world begins to rearrange itself around his new self-concept. This is the law of identity. This is the secret behind every rise to power. This is why two men can have the same job, the same salary, the same background. One stays a servant. The other becomes a leader. The servant asks, "What must I do today?" The leader asks, "What must I build this year?" The servant waits for permission. The leader moves with conviction. The servant fears mistakes. The leader fears stagnation. The servant trades time for wages. The leader trades vision for results. This transformation begins with one step. Write your definite chief aim, not tomorrow, not someday, now. Who are you becoming? What do you demand from life? What purpose will you fulfill? How will your work create value for others? How will your name outlive your years? Write it clearly, boldly, without apology. Identity must be written before it can be lived. The second step is rhythm daily command. Do not trust motivation. It is weak. Trust repetition. It is the architect of destiny. Each morning, read your aim aloud. Each night, repeat your affirmations with certainty. Shape your subconscious into the man who leads, not the man who obeys. Because your subconscious mind does not follow your intentions, it follows your instructions. You must instruct it daily. I am a creator, not a laborer. I build systems, not excuses. I command wealth. I do not chase it. The third step is ownership. A man who depends on one income stream is still serving. You must build systems, assets, and flows of value that exist outside your labor. Let your job fund your freedom, but do not let it define your future. And if ever you doubt that this path works, remember this: Napoleon Hill himself was the son of a poor miner. No privilege, no luxury, no inheritance. But he made one decision, that he would no longer serve fear, poverty, or limitation. He studied the minds of wealthy men. He applied spiritual law with discipline. He spoke his identity into existence. And he rose from obscurity to shape millions of destinies across the world. If he could rise from nothing, what excuse remains for you? You are not here to obey mediocrity. You are not here to drift through life unnoticed. You are here to command, to build, to create, to leave a legacy that outlives you. Say these final words with power: I will not serve fear. I will not serve limitation. I command my destiny. I build my wealth. I become the man I was always meant to be. This is your turning point. This is your new identity. This is the beginning of your freedom. If you have reached this moment, then you are no longer the same person who pressed play. A shift has begun inside you. A new identity has been born, not the worker, not the servant, not the obedient follower of a broken system, but the builder, the creator, the commander of your own destiny. Most people will finish this video and return to the rhythm that has kept them trapped for decades, but not you. Because once your mind has been opened, it cannot be closed again. Once truth has been revealed, it cannot be unseen. And once freedom has been awakened, it refuses to sleep. You now understand why millions work until 65 and end up with nothing. You understand the lies, the traps, the habits, the laws that the wealthy obey, and you understand that your future will not be shaped by luck, but by identity, purpose, rhythm, and courageous action. Your life from this moment forward is no longer a reaction. It is a decision to rise, a decision to command, a decision to build wealth instead of waiting for permission, a decision to live fully instead of dying slowly. Now speak these final words with conviction as a vow to yourself. And as the beginning of your new law, I refuse to live as I have lived. I refuse to wait for freedom. I build it now. I command my mind, my habits, my wealth, and my destiny. I will not be poor. I was born to lead. Hold that feeling. Let it burn. Because your next step is simple, but powerful. If this message awakens something in you, don't let it fade. Subscribe to stay aligned with your new identity. Comment, I will not work my whole life and die broke. Rewatch this video each morning for the next 7 days. Share this with someone who needs this awakening. Your new life begins now.